Hi everyone, welcome to today's YouTube Live. Today I really want to share with you about parent visa mainly, and then this will be very comprehensive, and you were able to really find a solution for your own parents' account over here. This section is actually particularly serving for our candidates who's recently got permanent visa approved it, and then who's actually considering helping their parents to settle in Australia as well. So Australian permanent visa stream, majority of the cases where candidates or we able to sponsor parents, but the requirement is quite different. Obviously, some of you might know that's very straightforward. It's just contributory, parent visa or not. But in fact, it has multiple subclasses depending on the situation. All right, so I'll just quickly introduce myself. So here's myself. I just slides over here. My name is Joanna. In the past year, I helped more than 210 professionals to get Global Talent Independent Program in less than 10 months. So in less than 6 months, sorry. So and I have personally lived in Australia and UK for more than 20 years, and I actually just relocated from UK to Australia about 6 years ago. I initially migrated from China to UK, and then from UK to Australia. I have a really profound understanding of the political, cultural, humanistic, legal system and mode of thinking of Western society. So I'm actually currently specialized in GTI program. So this section is actually a DIY session for any of the candidates who want to do it themselves. It's actually very straightforward. You just need to understand very simple and straightforward system about parent visa here. All right, go back to our parent visa. All right. So, the first question we need to ask, I think we just need to decide whether or not parents they are aged. First of all, we need to decide, and we need to make definition of that, and then you need to ask whether or not you want to pay the contributory fee, which is about 48,000 per head. That is the second question asked. Now for the first question asked, first of all, aged means have different definition. I'll just share this with you. Okay. Aged now, it's about, we know some of the definition changed because the pension age changed. Now, mostly, we would like to really focus on some areas of, the age. And I'm going to share this with you here. So, age has it depends when parents were born. So if they were born before 1956 December, and the age is 60 years and 6 months. So that's actually not difference, isn't it? If they born after June 1957, the age means 67. So roughly about that. It will change in the future as well. But I suspect that it will be older, 68, 69, etc. But first of all, you determine whether parents, it doesn't matter whether they retire or not in their own country. Maybe sometimes, they are just 55, but they already retired. Or someone who might work up to the age of 68. So therefore, age means someone who's reached pension age, which is 68, right? That just say 68. Now, before you decide, then you say, okay, age or not, then you ask the question, would you like to pay for them to stay here permanently. Okay, if you want to pay, and that's called contributory parent visa. Okay, now if they are aged and you wish to pay that fees, then that is contributory age parent. If they are not aged but you wish to pay, that is contributory parent visa subclass 143. So we don't need to remember all the subclasses really, it's because it's just a term. Just to make sure whether you want to contribute or not, and they are aged or not, and that's really easy to determine. Now, and if you don't want to say contribute and then you say, okay, what's the option for us? Then it's age parent visa and subclass 804, and not age normal parent visa subclass 103. What is the difference between contributory parent visa and non-contributory parent visa? The difference is really about waiting time. Now, age parent visa, which is non-contributory parent visa, the waiting time is significantly longer than contributory age parent visa. Now, contributory parent visa can actually used to be 5 years. Now, someone might already wait for 6 years. It's significantly, longer than the previous cases, and this changed a lot. But generally speaking, contributory parent visas, the processing time is shorter, a lot shorter. Age parent visa, you're expecting to wait at least 10 years. This is about the processing time. Contributory parent visa, it's about 5. So yes, there must be some difference here. Now, so who can sponsor? Okay, now when you think about, I would like to pay, but what is the difference? Okay, can I apply them while they are in outside, for example, in Hong Kong, or can I actually apply when they are in Australia? Okay, and then what is the difference? Okay, first the question is, can I apply? All of applications, parent visa, can apply while they are in Australia. The only difference is that when they are in Australia, only aged parents has bridging visa. Okay, period. It doesn't matter whether you pay them, contributory or not. If they are aged, as long as they are aged, which means they hit the age of 67 at the time of you applying visa for them, they will have a bridging visa, which means they can stay and wait, right? They can stay where they don't have to go back to the home country. They just don't have that social benefits, meaning they don't have access to Medicare. They can't apply for social benefits. And that's it, they have to. And every time they leave the country, Australia, applying back, they have to apply another bridging visa to come back. They have to apply before they leave and use the bridging visa to come back. That is the only difference when applying the age, depending, difference between age or non-age. Okay. Now, what is the situation if someone's saying, okay, I'm not sure, do I need a sponsor? And do I need a sponsor? And who can be a sponsor? A sponsor have a tax, which we have general requirement of tax. One, it's something called family balance tax. Okay, family balance tax. Family balance is really saying, first of all, you have to be eligible child. Yourself has to be eligible child, right? Which means you meet family balance tax. And eligible means really the total resident. So first of all, you have to be Australian permanent resident. Yeah. Secondly, you have to be usual resident. And usual residence normally referring to 2 years residence in Australia. It can be accumulatively, but each year of your stay in Australia must be longer than outside Australia. Okay, that's general text. Generally speaking, you must spend majority of time in Australia for 2 years before you can apply anybody. So if you just got permanent visa approved now, can you apply parent visa right now? No, you can't. You yourself can't. But if you have a sister, for example, who's Australian permanent resident, and they can sponsor your parents now, yes, they can. Yeah. So the question is really about your residence, and that residence does not need to be include the time you were permanent resident, right? For instance, if you have any questions, you can just put in chat box, and so I'll be able to answer. I'm not able to really check. I think I am. So back to the question about residence. Okay. The time you spend as a legal resident is actually included. So legal residence really saying anything, including student visa, bridging visa, visitor visa. Let's say now 2 years ago you were a visitor, right? And while in Australia you apply global talent and you got permanent visa approved today. Can you sponsor a visitor visa? You can't stay 2 years, but somehow you can. Okay, let's assume you're actually working holiday visa or not student visa, for 2 years, and then you graduate and then got PhD, and you apply a parent today, right? Can you apply? Yes, you can, because the time you spend in Australia as a legal resident is actually calculated towards that 2 year. So that is a separate two requirement. One, it's at the time you apply, you are permanent resident, right? Secondly, at the time of you apply, you've lived in Australia for 2 years legally. Okay, legally. Legally means you had a valid visa during that period of time, 2 years, minimum. Then after that, we have to calculate how many siblings you have, right? How many siblings you have, and very straightforward to calculate. That's two types of calculation. One, the number of the child in Australia, in this case, it must be you, yourself, or someone else's, your sibling, your sister, brother. So the number of children in Australia is greater than outside Australia. Okay, that's one criteria. Or the number of a child in Australia, it's actually greater than any of the child in other country. Let's just assume, let's say we have 3 children. So you have 2 siblings, so 3 of you, all right? Now you just got you got permanent visa today, right? And you live here in the last 2 years as a graduate or student. Now, and then you have one sister, let's say in Hong Kong, another sister in Japan. Are you eligible? No. Why? Because the number of yourself, which is you, it's not greater than any of the child in other country, right? In other countries. So again, so that's a text really funny, isn't it? Really funny. So if let's say you have yourself in Australia, but you have 2 sisters. Okay, you have yourself in Australia, you have, let's say, 1 sister in Australia, and you have 3 different, you have 1 brother in US, another brother in UK, another brother in Japan. Can you be eligible? Yes. Why? Because the number of children in Australia is actually 2. It is actually greater than any of the child in any other countries, right? So this is like this. And this calculation, you can search it. That's a lot of online calculation. Basically, that's two calculation. One is the total number of children is greater than total of the number outside Australia. And you have to say the number of children in Australia is greater than any of the children in any other country, right? So, but if you're just single child, then you don't need to worry about that because, well, you meet the requirement because that's the first situation. You just yourself, you don't have any other siblings, then you can just you being eligible. So we have 2 requirements here. One, it is first of all, you are a permanent resident, and then you had lived in Australia for 2 years. Okay, the first one. The second one, the number of children in Australia is greater than the total number of the children outside Australia, and the number of children in Australia is greater than any of the children in any other countries. Okay, so this is actually a rough idea. I don't think someone who have like more than 10 children, 10 siblings, which is quite rare. I believe that would be some of the case. But I think these 3 or 4 that it's most common family structure. I believe that it's the case. Okay, now let's going back to this. First of all, we already determined whether or not you can sponsor parents first. You can sponsor as any as permanent visa. Okay, I was really family balance tax. It's really referring that when you apply the visa itself, it's a permanent visa. It's a permanent visa. Permanent visa means they can actually live permanently with you. So, okay, and then we just talk about age or not, contributory or not, and then you say, okay, you know, I just want to wait. I don't want to pay the government because that it's about 48,000 per head. So therefore, if let's say you applying for them a contributory parent visa and 2 of them coming, then you're gonna you're gonna pay 2 slots of the contributory because it's per head, not per application. It's quite expensive if you're considering that. Obviously, that's someone else's, you know, for instance, that's different pathway they can. So today I won't be talking about any other way to get around with this. Generally speaking, the department, you know, they don't want you to do that in a way. You know, someone might get divorced first, just to avoid this 50K, and then married again after 5 years. So I don't encourage you to do that. So the department's not encouraging as well. Now, so what's the difference between, now some of the cases is parents, they don't actually want to stay permanent in Australia, but they want to stay longer, right? Longer period. What can they do? They don't want to contribute, and they don't want to wait in the system for a very long time. In this case, I think if they are aged, you can really consider the age parent visa, okay, while they are in Australia. So they can come in a visitor visa, and you apply them as age parent visa. This way, they get a bridging visa, so they can actually stay a lot longer, even though you might not want them, you know, to live here permanently. You can apply them age parent visa. Wait here, but if they want to leave, for example, if they want to stay with you longer than 3 months, then this is actually a really good option, isn't it? Because you don't need to, they don't have to come here and then go back and come here again. It's a lot of hassle. So, but make sure every time you leave, you have a bridging visa B, apply bridging visa B to leave. And that's a problem because some people might say, I don't know how long I want to come back to Australia, maybe greater than 3 months. Okay, greater than 3 months. That is okay. Why? Because they can at that time apply for visitor visa, come back and reactivate the bridging visa A. Right? So it is not complicated, although it sounds like very complicated. It is not. The purpose of this is really saying someone, you know, parents, they don't want to contribute to Australia. They don't want to pay the fee, and they don't actually want to come here on the short visa, but they're aged. So they can actually apply age parent visa, get a bridging visa. When they travel out of Australia, apply bridging visa B before they travel, come in as a tourist visa again if they exceed 3 months. Okay, but if they come here for always want a short visit, like a few weeks, that's no point to do that. You then come to the second one for short visit. So therefore, for all short visitor visas, you are not required to provide a family balance tax, right? You don't just doesn't matter how many siblings you have, you can sponsor them as long as you are in Australia. Okay, the shorter one everybody knows, e-visitor visas for candidates, for instance, from UK and Hong Kong. For visitor visa itself has a few subclasses. If you have any questions, don't forget to put it into a chat box so I'm able to answer them one by one. I'll just wait a bit. Okay, right. Okay, all right. So visa itself has multiple streams. Very simple stream, it's just 3 months. Okay, if that's a family sponsored, then family sponsor at this time, you also need to be here in Australia for 2 years at least. 2 years at least. So you need to be in Australia 2 years so you can sponsor a family sponsored visa. The fee is actually the same, $145. And they can stay up to 12 months in an 18-month period. Okay, so they can stay here longer than usual, longer than visa. Okay, right. So, okay, and if you saying, okay, that's a new subclass, it's actually announced 2 years ago about sponsored parent visa. However, not everybody understand these sponsored parent visas requirements actually higher. The requirement for you as a sponsoring child is actually 5 years, not normal 2 years. So it will only come to someone who's already here for a few years. Okay, so the best way will be maybe if they only want parents only stay here for 1 year, then you apply for family sponsor stream, provided that you have been in Australia for 2 years. And then if they want to stay longer than 1 year in the whole duration, then an age parent visa may be a good option, even though they don't want to come right now. But if you live in Australia for more than 5 years, a sponsored parent visa class 870 might be a good option because it allows them to stay up to 5 years. However, the visa fee is actually about $10,000 if you want them to stay a duration of 5 years. Now the point is, why would you do that if they are aged, right? You don't, because this visa is quite expensive. If you want to stay 10 years, up to 10 years, then you're gonna pay $10,000. What is the difference between that? So people just don't know they can actually apply age parent visa, get a bridging visa, activate multiple times. They just don't want to do the hassle. But work itself is actually really straightforward. It's not hard. And besides, if you sponsor parents and the age parent visa, the requirement for yourself just 2 years. 2 years. So you only need to be in Australia 2 years. All right. So let me go back to the age parent visa. Okay, age parent visa. I only give you a few examples of age parent visa because on my graph, you can see I also list out something called contributory parents age parent visa temporary, and they have different subclasses and just so confusing. I actually strongly recommend department to change this because it's just confusing, especially our applicants are actually parents, right? Why on earth are they doing this? So contributory parent visa, these two are actually temporary. Okay, temporary. So which means you can apply directly to this A64 or 143, okay, depending on whether they age or not, or you can apply separately. You can apply this first, okay, and then so I was just thinking of okay, I'm not able to get the signature here. Sorry. So this one, this one, right? This one can actually apply first, then we come to the next. Okay, next one. Which means you can apply directly from here, A64 or 143, or you apply this first and come to the next. And what is the difference? Well, according to department, if they apply temporarily, the processing time is actually going to be slower. So you're gonna get some temporary visa first, and then therefore the contributory fee, the fee itself can be split into two. The total fee amount, however, it's actually greater. than if you apply one go, right? So that is a difference, considering someone say I wait one shorter period of time. However, according to my observation and then our understanding of the market, that's actually no difference in terms of these two types in processing time. So contributory, the temporary one, a permanent one, that's no difference. And at the end, you actually have to pay more. However, department might consider that, someone wants to pay installment, right? Because for the contributory parent age one, you're going to need to pay that as one go. And when are you going to pay it? At the time they're going to give you visa, right? At the time they say, you have a case offer, so today, here you go, going to pay this. And then at the time you pay. So it is not at the time you submit the application. So I consider that still a good option, because nowadays everything is really expensive. And I don't think they have any intention to increase that. So if you apply now, the fees will be stick to it, to the same one at the time you apply. It doesn't matter after 5 years what law change, you're going to pay the same fee. So if you really have a consideration to think about that, that's the best time. Just throw in the application, and think about that later. Not throwing your application. We're going to ask about fees, how much they need to pay. Okay. Now, they need to pay secondary, it's about primary, again, it's the same fee, contributory fee. It's 43,600. I believe that is the case now. And then that is the second installment, which means that you are required to pay at the time, the visa, before the visa, it's approved it. So you're going to contribute them and that, which is department, right? The first installment primary, it's about 3,685. Okay. Now again, I just mentioned all parent visa can be lodged while they are in Australia and outside Australia, no problem. But for the 143, for the different visa, if you apply because you're not aged, right? You're not aged. Therefore, even you apply in Australia, your visa will be granted when you're outside Australia. In rare situation, that's at the time you actually visiting, the parents visiting Australia, but then they're going to approve your visa. So you have to leave in order to get visa approved it. Okay. So this is really direct cases as well. Fees is actually quite similar. And then we'll talk about assurance of support in a minute. So I hope that doesn't confuse anybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Right. The benefits for contributory parent visas, though, it's so it's not need for 5 years. It's actually permanent. Just the travel facility is 5 years. Okay. The travel. So I think this is not 143. One contributory parent. Okay, that's parent visa, isn't it? I even get myself confused a lot of times because nobody can remember all of the subclasses, even I'm expert. So that application, because it's not aged, therefore no bridging visa when they are in Australia. Meaning they can lodge when they are here, yes, but if they came here on a visa, they have to leave Australia before the visa expires. It doesn't matter whether they lodge in Australia or not, because non-aged parent visa has no bridging visa. Just one rule: non-aged parent visa does not have bridging visa. Aged parent visa always has bridging visa, regardless whether or not it's contributory. Okay, always have a bridging visa. Meaning, if they are in Australia at the time applying, they can stay as long as they want. So I just gave example of parent visa, age parent visa, which is not contributory. They can actually stay here during the whole period, during the whole entire period of waiting. If that entire period of waiting is at 10 years, they can actually stay here for 10 years. Okay. Now, even that's complicated, even that it's a lot of cost here, then they actually have a requirement. I did mention about family balance tax. The number of children in Australia is not greater than the total number of children outside Australia. 1. The number of children in Australia must be greater, and number of children outside individual country. Just 2 requirements. Family balance tax. Okay, if you are earning for one sibling, yes. It doesn't matter where they are. Yes, you meet a requirement. If you have 2 siblings, no, you don't. If they are not in Australia, you don't meet a requirement. So therefore, you can't apply if someone's actually in this situation. They can't apply contributory parent visa. Now, so, okay, now we have assurance support. Most people ask, how is there any requirement for a sponsor, as yourself, child, to sponsor the parents? That is actually no. Okay, no requirement for you as a sponsor. You can apply, sponsor them as long as we say you meet the family balance tax, and yes, you will need to pay. Okay, so but assurance support, it's really meaning something called a bank guarantee. Bank guarantee, meaning that because when they approve the permanent visa first, they can't access Medicare. They can access Medicare, but they can't access the social benefits. Therefore, if, for instance, if they do access the social benefits, they want you to cover, right? They want you to cover, for instance, I don't know, sometime they can apply actually retire. I don't know, and then lots of benefit they can apply, they access to that. And what happens with that? So there's something called a bank guarantee. Bank guarantee is really say give money to the social security, which is Centrelink. Give a bunch of money to them. Say, okay, if my parents ever used any social benefits, you can debit from my account, right? Like that. And then therefore we have to have assurance of support. Someone must give you assurance of support at the time of the visa approval. So when you apply the parent visa, you don't need to worry about that because you don't know how long they're going to take. When they're about to process, then, about 5 years, then, or 3-4 years down the line, then you can think about that. And assurance support, assurer, it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be relatives. It doesn't have to be yourself. It can be anybody. Then the assurers, they have the income requirement. The income requirement is this number, 15,000, which is 16,000 multiplied by number of assurers plus number of assurees. In this case, let's say you're assurer and both of you, yourself and partner, which sponsor a parent application, provide assurance support to application, then that's 4, and the parents has wife as well. So in this case, we have 4 people. Then it's 16,000 multiplied by 4. Now, so therefore, if one person gives assurance support, that is this number, 3 multiplied by applicable rate. Okay, so really easy. I think this is really minimal. It doesn't require you to do lots of, that's minimum income for a whole total household income. This number is a total household income. All right, and how much you're gonna need to give them to give this bank guarantee for the 2 years? So if that is a contributory parent visa, you have to give them 10 for 10 years. Therefore, it's 10,000. Okay, and for the main applicant, 4,000 for the adult secondary visa application. For any of non-contributory, that's about 2 years. assurance of support. That's a central link. You can actually search central link assurance support, find out this information. But the whole duration of the process is they're going to write email to you, hey, I'm going to process your application. Yeah, who's your assurance? When are you going to apply? And you need to identify that person. Once you identify that person, then they will give you email to the contact central link and just, bank account, they can pay them. Once your payments fee paid and contributory fees paid, then the visa will be approved. What kind of form you can search? It's a form 47PA. Gather documents. This one I'll just quickly go through. The online, you can search it yourself. You put random, maybe not 143 because this is not contributory parent visa. Here we put down age 143 aged, not aged, 143. And I will just going to show you where you can find this information. Gather your documents. It's very, very detailed with the immigration's website. Therefore, you can actually apply yourself. The only thing you might not be familiar is that the application is going to be sent by paper, which is strange. I'm going to share with you in a minute about which address you need to send to them. So this is about a bit strange, isn't it? And then kind of you send off the all paperwork and nothing from immigration. You just don't know what's going on. You contact them, nobody answer you. You just need to wait. But just make sure that whatever you provide to for the information, you have a record, right? So therefore, before you send out the documents, you're gonna need to scan into your own system, USB, whatever, into color, put down, just make a reference. And then when you send out, you make sure they sent out to you acknowledgement letter. Otherwise, it's deemed they never received it. Now, this information is just really straightforward, isn't it? The information I just shared with you, identification, simple, passport, birth certificate, anything showing your relationship with the parents, okay? And it doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be one. If someone doesn't have a birth certificate, for instance, they're going to find some way to identify that according to your culture or country situation. So it's very flexible. You don't need to worry about. Just find something you can do it the best. Identification. This document has to be in color. Sponsorship documents, again, who you are, right? Balance of family, which is the number of children within the number of siblings you have. You're gonna need to have evidence of this, and don't know what's kind of family book or anything that shows that. Character document, you don't need to provide at the time, okay, because it takes greater amount of time. Assurance report, you're gonna need to identify that person, but it's not at the time of our application. You can provide a later stage or anything like that. So, okay, that's pretty much everything about this program. Where to send your application to? Right. Okay. You can actually, if you want to note down, it's really funny, isn't it? You need to post it. If you post something to them, that it's a good chance they're never gonna receive it. So make sure you post by express post and have a tracking number. And then it doesn't matter post by or courier service or post directly. It doesn't matter. That's no difference. But have an express post. Now make sure you must check within 1 week. Make sure you have the acknowledgement letter. Otherwise, it's deemed and never received it. And they normally don't respond for parent visa, just because they know it's going to take forever, and they just don't respond, especially for non-contributory parent visa. Okay, yes, I think I've covered everything. I will leave a few minutes for you to answer any questions you might have, and otherwise, okay, I think I did cover everything. I believe so. And this is my own book to record everything. Even myself, funny enough, I don't remember everything, and so I have keep good record everything. You can see I have really good bookkeeping to book everything about that. And if you have any other questions, please subscribe. Now, comment below or subscribe our channel. And then if you have any questions about parent visa or something else, about family related, it might be care visa, remaining relative visas, or age dependent related terms. So anything about about relative visas, you can ask us as well. But normally, generally speaking, when you think about anything like remaining relative visa, care visa, whatever this is the case, if you are in Australia, you always have bridging visa, okay? Other visas, like depending on that. So, but the processing time, it's actually great, very long, more than 10-20 years, and I doubt any of them were able to get it. If you're patient enough, you should be able to get it anyway, right? All right. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll just wait a few minutes. I think someone asked me here. Okay, they asked me if they've got permanent visa today, okay, and in the next 2 years they are not coming. Can they wait for 2 years and apply? I just mentioned that you have to be a regular resident of Australia in order to apply. So regular means the amount of time you spend in Australia is greater. So therefore, you spend at least 6 months in Australia in 1 year. For that 2 years, then you can apply, sponsor your parents. But if you say spend 4 months last year and the year before, then it's not. You can't be sponsor. Okay. So I have another question. Someone asks about yes. They say if they just sponsor any other visa, for instance, Vista visa, right? And can they just straight apply parent visa straight away decided? Now, Vista visa itself has different conditions. My understanding, though, generally speaking, again, if they are aged parents, normally that's nothing to prevent them to lodge. Okay, that's no condition to them preventing them lodge. However, if they are not aged, we consider 68, but sometimes department really considering something like 60-ish. That's various, and then based on my observation, various. So if you parents come here, you just really need to check your condition to see whether they're able to lodge onshore again. And even though you do have a condition to prevent them to lodge, okay, or they can't go back to China or Hong Kong anyway, what can you do? Now we have help, and then we have instruct, and then we have actually advised, and successfully they got waiver. So, for instance, they have a particular condition that prevented them to lodge another visa. And what can we do? We will then apply waiver of this particular condition, which means that we ask the department, hey, remove this thing so I can apply something else. And that can be done under this COVID situation. Majority of the people got approved it, so they can actually start. They don't have to leave. But in the future event, I'm not sure. You can always apply. The reason behind it is really I can't return. I can't return, and that is something out of my control. And that is really depending on your circumstance. Is that something out of your control? We do have some parent visa that's applied. want exemption and come to Australia. Now Australia saying you can. So that's a different part. One is border control, one is visa department. So Department of Home Affairs, they will say, okay, you know what, you need to get visa first, right? And the border will say, okay, you need to get, border will say you get exemption first, and then department say you get visa first. So always the best way is not to apply exemption, because you need to have a valid visa and apply exemption. However, I know some actually apply exemption first, then they apply, or they apply same time, and it worked as well. So this one, it can be very creative. I think we hit 45 minutes and this today's section. Just quickly wrap up today's section. I'll just talk you with a parent visa, and in summary, that you need to determine at a very early stage, saying, for instance, are they age or not? Do you want to pay fee or not? And how long you want them to stay in Australia? Okay. And if you are wanting them to come to Australia permanently, you must meet the requirement of family balance tax, and you have to be an eligible child. You cannot apply parent visa, permanent one, without this. So if you don't meet requirement now, you will not meet requirement later. Just calculate how many siblings you have and find out for balance family tax. If you don't want them to, you don't meet the family tax, but you want to stay longer, then you're gonna wait a little bit longer for 5 years before you can apply parent visa. So ultimately, I believe that parent visa provides different options for different candidates. Although this is actually not the best one, but it's actually a new one that provides solutions for some of you. I hope this one help you. I do understand if you want to apply, you can actually apply yourself. That's no requirement and need. It is not complex at all to apply parent visa. Just make sure you keep a copy, doing work like a professional. All right, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you. Do not forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you. Bye bye.